I never thought I'd be the guy who got cheated on. I always considered my marriage to Lisa stable. We met in college and had been together for over a decade. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but we made it work, or so I thought. The signs started out as subtle, almost imperceptible. Small things, you know. Lisa began to stay late at work more often, claiming her boss was piling on extra hours. I remember brushing it off, convinced she was just being a dedicated employee. I started seeing her on her phone more frequently too, always scrolling or texting, but I convinced myself that it was just social media or work-related chatter. Yet something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but an unease settled in the pit of my stomach. It escalated when I noticed she had become more guarded about her phone. If I walked into the room, she would immediately lock it or put it down face first. Lisa, known for being open and honest, became a stranger in her own home. Little did I know, all of that was a prelude to a devastating revelation. One day, I decided to install a doorbell camera. I thought it would be a fun gadget, a way to see who was coming and going. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it turned out to be the best decision I ever made. It wasn't long after that when I noticed a pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, the pool guy, Nick, arrived at the same time. Somehow, Lisa always left the house around the same time. It didn't dawn on me until I began reviewing the video footage. That day started like any other. I was at home, working remotely, when I noticed a notification pop up on my phone from the doorbell camera. I clicked on it absent-mindedly, expecting to see Nick doing his usual pool maintenance. Instead, what I saw shattered my entire world. Lisa, leaning against the fence, laughing flirtatiously as she spoke to him, her body language clearly inviting. I felt sick to my stomach as I watched her lean in, kiss him on the mouth, and then they went inside our house. A rush of emotions hit me like a freight train. Anger, betrayal, confusion. I felt utterly helpless. I spent the next hour replaying the footage, trying to convince myself I was misinterpreting it. I mean, how could this be happening? My wife, the woman I loved, was cheating on me with the pool guy of all people. It felt surreal as I paced the living room, my heart racing with rage. How could she do this to me? All those late nights at work, all the excuses, it all made sense now. I knew I had to confront her, but the thought of it made me nauseous. Finally, with the video evidence stored and my heart pounding, I decided to wait for her to come home. I wanted to give her a chance to explain herself, but deep down I was prepared for a fight. The door swung open at her usual time and she stepped inside, her face lighting up. She didn't know. She had no idea what was coming. "Hey babe, how was your day?" she asked, her voice chipper. I stood in the kitchen, the video playing in my mind. The warmth I once felt for her now replaced by an icy chill. I took a deep breath, my chest tightening. "Sit down, Lisa, we need to talk." Smile faltered and I saw the slight shift in her demeanor. She sensed something was off. As she took a seat, I held back my anger, trying to remain calm. I pulled up the video on my phone, ready for the confrontation. "Do you want to explain this?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with betrayal. The color drained from her face as she watched the screen. Her initial confusion morphed into a defensive stance. "This isn't what it looks like. I mean, it's just a kiss. It doesn't mean anything." My heart raced. How could she say that? The denial rolled off her tongue so easily, so effortlessly. I couldn't believe it. The anger bubbled up, threatening to spill over. "Not what it looks like. Lisa, you're in our house, in our backyard, kissing him. How can you even say that?" She stammered, searching for words, desperate to twist the narrative. "He was just comforting me. You've been so distant lately." Distant. I felt like I was being turned inside out. The emotional roller coaster was relentless. I had tried to be understanding, to be supportive. But here she was, deflecting blame, trying to turn it back on me. I wanted to scream, to shake her and demand she explain how she could betray me like this. Instead, I felt a strange calm wash over me as reality sank in. I had the evidence, and there was no escape for her now. As Lisa continued to stammer through her excuses, I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and profound sadness. The woman I had trusted with my heart was unraveling before me, and she didn't seem to understand the weight of her betrayal. "You think this is just a kiss?" I asked, my voice low but firm. "You think that's all it is? You let him into our home, Lisa. You let him into our lives. How could you do this to me? She shifted in her seat, her eyes darting away from mine, clearly struggling to form a coherent response. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I thought you didn't care anymore. That hit me like a punch to the gut. I had always believed that communication was the cornerstone of our relationship, and yet here she was, waving our problems aside like they were nothing. You thought cheating on me was the answer, I asked, incredulous. You thought I wouldn't care about you if you had sex with someone else. A flash of guilt crossed her face, but it vanished just as quickly. I wanted it to be different. I thought we were drifting apart, and then Nick was there. He listened to me, and I got caught up in the moment. I never meant to hurt you. Her voice was desperate, but her words felt hollow. I shook my head, feeling the walls closing in. I had loved her, and even then I could feel that love slipping through my fingers like sand. The weight of her betrayal was suffocating. I couldn't bear to listen to her excuses any longer. You want to know what's hurtful? It's the fact that you didn't think I was worth talking to express your feelings. Instead, you opted for the easy way out. You went to the pool guy. You broke our vows. Her eyes welled with tears, but I steeled myself against any sympathy. I'm not going to let your tears distract me from the truth. You can blame me for the state of our marriage, but that doesn't give you a free pass to cheat, Lisa. The vulnerability she showed only moments ago hardened into defensiveness. I never wanted to hurt you. You make it sound like I was trying to destroy our marriage. I was just lost. Lost. You don't get to justify this. You could have come to me, talked to me about your feelings, but instead you chose the pool guy over your husband. My voice trembled with emotion, but I fought to keep it steady. You chose to betray me. The truth hung heavy in the air, and I could see the anger rising in her as well. What do you want me to say, Ryan? That I'm sorry, that I regret it? Because I do. I made a mistake, but you need to realize that we both contributed to this. We've been distant. I wanted to scream that our distance wasn't an excuse for her actions, but instead, I felt that bitterness transform into a numb acceptance. I had always believed in working through issues together, but now I was faced with a choice neither of us had anticipated. So what now, Lisa? What do we do with this? She fell silent, wiping away her tears with a trembling hand. I watched her, searching her face for some sign of remorse or understanding, but all I saw was a mixture of fear and defiance. It was as if she was trying to convince herself that her justification was enough to absolve her of the betrayal. I don't want to lose you, she finally whispered, her voice barely audible, but there was something in the way she said it that felt disingenuous. It didn't feel like love, it felt like desperation. We can fix this, can't we? We can try counseling, talk about our issues, we can make it work again. Make it work. The words tasted bitter on my tongue. You think we can just sweep this under the rug? I don't know if I can look at you the same way again, Lisa. A silence enveloped us, the weight of the situation crushing. I could feel my heart racing as I thought about the future, how everything had changed in just one moment. I wanted to scream, to break something, to somehow make sense of the chaos swirling inside me. Instead, I just stood there, feeling lost. I can't believe you did this, I said finally, my voice thick with emotion. I thought we were better than this. Her eyes softened, and I could see her trying to piece together a defense, but every word she uttered felt like more lies, more betrayal. I needed space to think, to process what had just happened. I need time to think. I don't know if I can continue like this, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. What do you mean? She asked, confusion etched on her face. I mean, I don't want to make any decisions right now. I need to figure out what I want. As I walked away from her, I felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. The emotional pain cut deep, but I refused to let her see how much she had hurt me. I had to reclaim my dignity, my sense of self-worth. The following days were a blur of anger, sadness, and disbelief. I replayed the conversation in my mind, scrutinizing every moment. The emotional fallout weighed heavily on me, and I felt like I was walking through a fog. I needed to find a way to move forward, but the hurt was still fresh. Each time I saw Lisa around the house, the memories of what she'd done surged back, and it felt as though we were living in two separate worlds. What was once my sanctuary now felt like a prison. I found myself questioning everything about our relationship, every moment, every word exchanged. What was next? I needed to decide how to handle the aftermath of the betrayal. The days passed in a haze, each one feeling like a lifetime. I was stuck in this limbo, where my mind couldn't settle on a single thought that didn't involve her infidelity. The domestic routine we once shared felt like a cruel joke. Mealtimes were silent, conversations were strained, and I could feel the tension hanging in the air like an unwelcome guest. I spent most of my evenings alone, either at the gym or at a nearby bar, trying to drown out the noise in my head. Friends reached out, concerned about my mood, but I wasn't ready to talk about it. How could I explain the betrayal by the woman I loved? I didn't even want to go there yet. The anger within me was still too raw to share. One Friday night, I found myself at a bar, nursing a drink and watching the laughter of couples around me. The weight of my heartache felt unbearable. I pulled out my phone, opening the doorbell camera footage again. I had logged into the app countless times, each viewing shredding my heart into pieces. Every laugh, every kiss felt like a stab to my gut. I was holding on to the evidence like a lifeline, but it was only pulling me deeper into despair. Then something unexpected happened. I received a text from Lisa. "Can we meet? I want to talk." My stomach churned as I read those words. I had been avoiding her, giving us both space, but I knew we couldn't put off the conversation forever. I agreed to meet her the next day at a cafe, my mind racing with possibilities, questions, accusations, everything I felt would spill out in one chaotic moment. When I arrived at the cafe, I found her sitting at a table, nervously fiddling with her bracelet. The sight of her brought back a rush of emotions. I wanted to yell, to confront her with everything I felt, but I also felt this strange urge to understand her. The duality of anger and love was a heavy burden to carry. "Hey," she said softly as I approached, her eyes downcast. "Hey," I replied, my tone flat. I took a seat, studying her face. The makeup was fresh, the effort clear. She was trying to mask the guilt and shame, but I could see through it. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she started, biting her lip. "About us, about what happened. I want to apologize properly. I've never felt so ashamed." "Apology," I repeated, feeling a sharp edge of bitterness. "Is that all you have to offer, an apology after you threw our marriage away?" "I know it doesn't sound like enough," she said, her voice quivering. "But I really want to work this out. I love you, Ryan. I made a horrible mistake and I don't want to lose you." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "Love isn't supposed to feel like this, Lisa. You say you love me, but how can I trust you again? You've shattered that trust. I understand, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want to fight for us. I want to go to couples therapy. I want to understand why I made such a terrible choice and how we can get back to where we used to be." Her words hung in the air, and I felt the weight of their implications. Therapy, working things out. Part of me wanted to scream that it was too late, that the damage had been done irreparably. But there was another part of me, the part that had loved her wholeheartedly for years, that wanted to believe we could salvage something from the wreckage. "Couples therapy," I echoed, processing her offer. "You think talking to someone can erase the image of you with Nick, the laughter, the intimacy you shared with him? I know it won't erase it, but it could help us understand what led to this. I can't promise that it will be easy, but I want to work through my mistakes and help you heal. I want to show you that I am still worthy of your love." Her earnestness struck a chord in me. I had never seen her so vulnerable before, and for a moment I could see the woman I fell in love with. But that flicker of hope was quickly crushed by anger. "You should have thought about that before you kissed him." "I know," she whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. "I can't change what I did, but I can change how I approach our relationship moving forward. Please, give me a chance." I could feel the internal struggle churning in my gut. Should I give her another chance? Was it worth it? I had spent so much time feeling hurt, betrayed, and angry. Was I ready to fight for a marriage that seemed irreparably broken? "Let's say I agree to the therapy," I said slowly, choosing my words carefully. "What's your plan? What do you think we need to fix?" "I think we need to address our communication issues first. I should have talked to you about my feelings instead of seeking comfort elsewhere. We need to rebuild that foundation of trust," she said, her voice steady but pleading. "And I need to own up to my actions. I can't ask for your forgiveness if I'm not willing to do the work." I stared into her eyes, searching for any sign of sincerity. The tears streaming down her cheeks felt genuine, but the memory of the betrayal loomed larger. Could I really believe her? Let me think about it. The words came out before I could stop them, a half-hearted commitment to consider her proposal. Lisa nodded, taking a deep breath as if she had been holding her breath the entire time. "Thank you. That's all I ask, just the chance to try." As I left the cafe, I felt the weight of indecision settle in my chest. I didn't know how I felt or what I wanted to do. The thought of therapy, of trying to fix our shattered relationship, was both daunting and strangely comforting. But could I truly forgive her? Would it ever feel the same again? The questions swirled in my mind, and I knew I was at a crossroads. The choice I made in the coming days would shape not just my future, but potentially the future of our marriage. I was unsure of what lay ahead, but I couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling that a reckoning was coming. The next few days were torturous. I oscillated between moments of clarity and waves of confusion. Part of me wanted to take the plunge and try to salvage our marriage through therapy, while another, louder part screamed that I should just walk away. I'd replayed that footage of Lisa and Nick in my mind so many times that it felt like a permanent stain on my memory. I couldn't shake the image of her lips on another man's, the laughter that had once filled our home now echoing like a ghost. I reached out to a close friend, Jake, who had been through his own rough patch a few years back. I figured he might offer some insight. We met at a local pub, and I wasted no time diving into the mess that had become my life. "I can't believe she did that to you, man. It's messed up," Jake said, shaking his head, his expression serious. "You deserve so much better." "I know, but it's complicated. I still love her, but how can I trust her again?" I muttered, swirling my drink, watching the ice clink together. "She wants to go to therapy, but I'm not sure if that's even worth it." "Bro, think about what you truly want. Do you think you can forgive her? Because if you can't, therapy just going to be a waste of time and money." I took a deep breath, considering his words. "I don't know if I can forgive her. Every time I see her, I'm reminded of what she did. It's like a punch to the gut." "What's your gut telling you?" he asked, leaning forward. "Forget all the noise. If she's truly remorseful, then maybe there's a chance, but you need to be honest with yourself first." I sat back, contemplating. Could I really ignore the betrayal, or would I always hold it against her? "Look, man, whatever you choose, just make sure it's what you truly want for yourself," Jake advised. "You don't owe her anything. Take your time." After our chat, I felt a little lighter, but the heaviness in my heart remained. I took a few more days to reflect on everything. I needed to be sure about my next step. The sorrow and betrayal were still too fresh, but I also recognized that our relationship wasn't built on a single moment. It was a collection of memories, both good and bad. Finally, I decided it was time to talk to Lisa again. I called her and told her I wanted to meet at a park, a neutral ground where we could have a serious discussion without the confines of our home. I arrived early, pacing under a large oak tree, anxiety swirling in my stomach. When she arrived, I noted the way her face lit up as she saw me. I felt a twinge of guilt. Was I really about to shatter the joy she had? But then I remembered the betrayal, and that twinge was snuffed out by anger. "Hey." She approached cautiously, a hint of hope in her eyes. "Hey." I gestured for her to sit on a nearby bench. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "I've thought about what you said regarding therapy. But before we dive into that, I need to know something." "Anything," she replied, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "Why did you cheat on me? I mean, really, what was going through your mind?" She took a moment, her lips pressing together as she considered her response. "I was feeling alone, Ryan. I convinced myself that you didn't care anymore. I thought I was doing what I needed to feel alive again, but I was wrong. I didn't realize how much I was risking." "Alone?" I echoed, incredulous. "You never once thought to talk to me. Instead, you decide to get intimate with someone else." "You had options, Lisa. You could have come to me." I know," she interrupted, her voice rising. "That's what I'm trying to say. I made a terrible choice. I didn't think it would escalate the way it did. I thought it was just harmless flirting, and suddenly I was in way over my head." "Harmless flirting." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. "You know that's not true. You don't just kiss someone without it meaning something. You don't just let a guy into our home." "I know." It was a moment of weakness, and I'm so sorry. I can't go back and change it, but I want to move forward. I want to fix us," she pleaded, her eyes glistening with tears. Her desperation hit me in waves, but I was still filled with doubt. "You say you want to fix us, but how do I know you won't do this again? How can I trust you after this? Because I've realized how much I've hurt you and how much I still care about you. I want to prove to you that I can be better. I just need a chance to show you," she said, her voice shaking. "I know it'll take time, but I'm willing to put in the work. I want to go to therapy together, and I want to be transparent with you. No more secrets." I felt the weight of her words pressing down on me, and a part of me wanted to believe her. But was I ready to take that leap of faith? Would I be able to let go of the anger and hurt? "I need time, Lisa. I can't promise anything right now," I said finally, my voice steady. "I understand," she replied, her shoulders slumping. "Just know that I'm here, and I'll wait as long as it takes. I love you, Ryan." As I watched her, I saw the flicker of the woman I had fallen in love with, but the betrayal still lingered. I had difficult choices ahead, and I would need to confront my feelings head-on. The path to healing wouldn't be easy, but I knew that whatever I decided would shape the future of our relationship. Leaving the park, I felt the familiar weight of uncertainty on my shoulders. I needed to find a way to navigate this storm of emotions, to understand what I truly wanted. I didn't know if I would ever completely forgive her, but there was one thing I was certain about. I was done feeling helpless. I would take control of my life, and I would figure out how to reclaim my happiness, with or without her. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions. I spent a lot of time thinking about Lisa's request for therapy. It gnawed at me, not just the idea of going to therapy itself, but the concept of rebuilding our relationship after the devastation she had caused. I knew I was at a tipping point, but I wasn't quite sure which way I wanted to lean. I started keeping a journal, something I hadn't done since my teenage years. Writing became an outlet, a way to process my feelings. I poured my anger, confusion, and disappointment onto the pages. Each entry was raw and unfiltered, a testament to the emotional turmoil that had become a part of my life. I found moments of clarity in those scribblings as I reflected on what went wrong in our marriage. One night, as I sat at my kitchen table scribbling away, I received a message from Lisa. "Can we talk? I know you're still thinking about therapy, and I just want to share my thoughts." I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Part of me wanted to ignore her message, to retreat into the safety of my solitude. But another part, the part that still cared for her, felt a tug of curiosity. I replied, "Sure, let's meet at the cafe again tomorrow." When we met, I could see the anticipation in her eyes. She wore a soft smile, but it was marred by a hint of nervousness. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice gentle. "I've been thinking about how to approach this conversation. I want to be honest." "Honestly is all I want from you, Lisa," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. I didn't want to give her false hope, but I also didn't want to shut her down completely. "I know I've messed up," she began, her gaze dropping to the table. "But I've done a lot of soul-searching. I've realized that my actions stemmed from a place of fear and insecurity. I was afraid of losing you before I even recognized that I was pushing you away. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that," I said, shaking my head. "You didn't just flirt with someone, Lisa. You cheated on me in our home with the pool guy. How do I know this won't happen again?" "I understand your hesitation," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "But I want to prove to you that I can change. I'm committed to doing the work. I want to go to therapy not just for us, but for myself. I need to understand why I made those choices." "Do you really think therapy will fix everything?" I asked, genuinely curious, because no therapist can rewrite what happened that day. "No, they can't," she agreed, her expression earnest. "But it can help us find the tools to communicate better, to address the underlying issues we've been ignoring. I want to learn how to be a better partner to you. I know I've hurt you, and I want to take responsibility for that." I sat back, crossing my arms. Her words bore weight, but I couldn't shake the doubts swirling in my mind. "I don't want to be a crutch for you, Lisa. You need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, and I need to figure out if I can trust you again. I won't be your safety net." "I'm not asking you to be," she said, her voice softening. "I'm asking you to give me a chance to grow, to show you that I can be someone you can trust again. I'm ready to put in the effort." I understand if you need to step away from this while I do the work, but I hope you'll consider going to therapy with me. It's not just about saving our marriage, it's about making sure this doesn't happen again to anyone else I might be with." Her sincerity struck a chord with me, and I could see how much this meant to her. For a fleeting moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could navigate this chaos together. But then a wave of anger washed over me. And what if I say no? I shot back. What if I decide I need to walk away? What happens then? I'll respect your decision. I can't control how you feel or what you choose to do. I just want you to know that I'm here, ready to fight for us if you're willing to give me the chance," she replied, her voice steady. Her determination was admirable, but it brought me no comfort. I needed time to think, to evaluate my feelings, and to determine whether I could truly forgive her. "I need to know you're serious about this," I finally said. "If we're going to try therapy, I need you to commit to being honest and transparent. No more hiding behind excuses. I also need to see some changes in your behavior." "I promise," she said earnestly. "I'll do whatever it takes to prove it to you. I understand that I've broken your trust, and that's something I'll have to earn back. I'm ready for that challenge." I nodded slowly, the weight of our conversation beginning to settle in. As we parted ways, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation. I had a long road ahead of me, and I wasn't even sure if I was ready to take the first step. In the days that followed, I found myself at a crossroads. I started considering the idea of therapy more seriously. I asked myself whether there was a pathway to forgiveness, whether reconciliation was a possibility. I wanted to be honest with myself about my feelings, and I wanted to be fair to both of us. Ultimately, I realized that I needed to give myself the space to heal, to decide whether I could move forward with Lisa. I wasn't ready to make any promises yet, but I was willing to take that first step into the unknown, no matter how daunting it felt. Finally, I reached a conclusion. I would agree to attend therapy with her, tentatively at first, but willing to explore the possibility of rebuilding what had been lost. It was a small step toward a larger decision, but it felt like the right choice. As I prepared for the first session, I felt a mix of trepidation and hope. This journey would not be easy, and there would be tough conversations ahead. But I was ready to confront the pain, to seek closure, and perhaps find a way back to each other. In that moment, I realized that healing begins with honesty, and even if the road was long, it was a journey I was prepared to undertake. The day of our first therapy session arrived, and I felt a whirlwind of nerves and anticipation. Lisa was waiting for me in the car, her expression a mix of hope and anxiety, and as I slid into the passenger seat, I couldn't help but notice how different everything felt. This was a new chapter, but whether it would lead to healing or additional heartache remained to be seen. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Ready as I'll ever be," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. The drive to the therapist's office felt long and tense, the silence filled with unsaid words. We arrived, and as we walked into the building hand in hand, I felt a flicker of something. Maybe hope, maybe determination. I couldn't quite place it. The therapist's office was warm and welcoming. Dr. Ellis greeted us with a kind smile, and I felt a bit of tension ease as we settled into the comfortable chairs. Lisa and I exchanged glances, the weight of our shared history hovering between us. "Let's start by talking about your relationship and what brought you here today," Dr. Ellis said, her voice calm and encouraging. As we began to share our story, I felt a mix of vulnerability and strength. I opened up about my feelings, my anger, and the hurt that had festered since the day I discovered Lisa's betrayal. I spoke honestly, allowing my emotions to flow freely, and to my surprise, Lisa mirrored my transparency. She spoke about her fears, her insecurities, and how they had led her to seek validation outside our marriage. "It was never about you, Ryan," she said, her voice breaking. I didn't realize how much I had taken our relationship for granted until it was almost too late. "I'm so sorry for everything." Hearing her words, I felt a mixture of relief and pain. It was the first time I had seen her truly confront the reality of her actions. Dr. Ellis guided us through the conversation, helping us to articulate our feelings and ensuring we both felt heard. By the end of the session, I felt mentally exhausted but strangely lighter. We continued our sessions weekly, and while it was an arduous process, I began to recognize the small changes in both Lisa and myself. She was committed to being honest and open, even when it was uncomfortable. For the first time in a long while, I started to feel a shift in our dynamic. One evening after a session, as we sat at home together, Lisa turned to me with a serious look on her face. "I know things won't magically get better overnight, but I want to show you how much you mean to me. I want to earn back your trust." "Trust is something that takes time, Lisa," I said softly, feeling the weight of our journey. "But I'm willing to try. I want to rebuild, but it's going to be a process." "I'm ready for that process," she replied, her voice steady. "I'll do whatever it takes." With each session, we peeled back layers of pain and miscommunication, confronting the fears that had driven her to cheat and my own insecurities that had simmered beneath the surface. We learned about healthy communication techniques, how to express our needs, and the importance of vulnerability. As the weeks turned into months, I realized that while the journey was painful, it was also cathartic. We started to reconnect, finding joy in the little things we used to share: a spontaneous date night, long conversations, and even laughter. I could feel the old bond slowly mending, but I also knew it would never be the same. However, I was learning to appreciate the new foundation we were building together. The betrayal had changed me. It forced me to confront my own feelings and understand what I truly wanted from life and from our relationship. I wasn't just rebuilding, I was redefining what love looked like for me. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Lisa leaned her head on my shoulder, a gesture that felt familiar yet newly cherished. I took a deep breath, feeling a wave of contentment wash over me. "Thank you for sticking with me through all of this," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm glad I did," I replied, my heart feeling lighter. "It wasn't easy, but I think we're getting somewhere." I realized that while I had been on a journey of betrayal and pain, I was also on a path of personal growth. I had learned the importance of communication, trust, and forgiveness, not just for Lisa, but for myself as well. As we navigated this new chapter together, I recognized that it wouldn't always be straightforward. There would still be challenges and bumps along the way, but we were committed to facing them together. I had taken back control of my life, and in doing so, I had opened myself up to the possibility of love once again, one that was rooted in honesty, vulnerability, and mutual respect. In the end, I learned that healing is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to confront the hard truths. But with every step forward, I felt a sense of empowerment. I wasn't just reclaiming my marriage, I was reclaiming myself.